that's what we're really excited to hear from Jeff today about. So Jeff, we are honored, sir, to have you here.
Thank you so much. Could have saved a bunch of time and just said a sinner, because really that's all I am, But great to join you today, brothers and sisters in Christ. Jeff Joquin, husband to my beautiful wife, Sandy, of 24 years, father to Faith McKenzie, who is 20 years old. She's a University of Tampa student. And to Jonathan Andrew Joquin, who would be 36 years old today. And yes, I am a sinner. I want to talk to you a little bit today. What I like to say, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm a broken pencil. And what I'm about to tell you is God's love story, okay? And, I could sit here and start with all the good, okay? But that wouldn't provide proper context for you. So I'm going to start with a little of the bad. Because if there ever was a prodigal son in this world, you are looking at that prodigal son. Okay, my prodigal son journey started at the age of 11 when I was exposed to hardcore pornography at a friend's house. Men and women, pornography is a grave, mortal sin. We need to get it out of our houses, out of our phones. Do not let the devil into your house. It's very important. That pornography led to alcohol use. I started at the age of 13 years old. I was born and raised in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. And I started drinking, this is how God writes straight with crooked lines. I started drinking Southern Comfort at the age of 13 years old. Again, to try to fill that wound, that void that was created inside of me. Not soon thereafter, I started smoking pot every morning before high school. Freshman year of high school. And then that graduated pretty quickly into hardcore drugs. By the age of 15, I was snorting cocaine on a regular basis. And you may say to yourself, where does this story go? How does it end? Where does God come into any of this? And I can tell you, men, somehow, some way, men and women, somehow, some way, I figured out a way to be pretty good at football too. Okay? So as I graduated, getting ready to graduate high school, 17 years old, getting ready to go off to college to play football and hopefully eventually in the NFL. But before I got to do that, I got a phone call when I was 17 years old. And that phone call went a little bit something like this. I picked up the phone. This was years ago before we had these cell phones that are attached to us. Forgive me, Matthew, I should have set the timer. I'm cheating you out of a few minutes here. That phone call went something like this, men and women. It was my girlfriend, and I was at home. The phone was connected to the wall. And she said to me, Jeff, we have a problem. And I immediately thought to myself, oh boy, Houston, we have a problem. She said, we're pregnant. And all I could think of, ladies and gentlemen, was that I was getting ready to go off to college, high school football star, hopefully pursue an NFL career. And here this girl was trying to prevent me from accomplishing that. So I told her, I'll call you back in 24 hours. Didn't pray about it. Was raised in a good Catholic Christian family, but did not pray about it, not 1 minute. Called her back. I said, set up the appointment. We need to have an abortion. 24 hours later, we were driving down to Providence, Rhode Island, because the local high school football star can't be seen at the local abortion clinic. And I dropped her off at the porte-cochere of the Women's Health Center, I believe it was called. Didn't say a word to her on the entire drive down. Dropped her off at the porte-cochere, and she asked me, she said, are you going to come in with me? And I said, no, I have no intentions of coming in. I pulled into the parking lot. It was July, the third Friday of July of 1987. And I was sitting by myself in my Chevy Malibu with no air conditioning as my girlfriend was inside the abortion clinic getting our unborn child taken out of her womb. And all I can remember, ladies and gentlemen, is looking up at the roof of my Chevy Malibu, which was heaven for me, and saying to God, is this what hell is going to feel like? Is this what hell is going to feel like? That was the bottom of my prodigal son journey. I had borrowed $200 from a friend to pay a stranger to kill my unborn child in the womb at the age of 17. I had broken all 10 commandments by the time I was 17 years old. But I told you that I'm a broken pencil, and this is God's love story. Went off to college, buried that emotion deep inside of me. By my senior year, I was a 2-time preseason All-American, and I had the Buffalo Bills come to at least 2 of my football games to court me, scout me. But my habits and my addictions overwhelmed my ability to play in the NFL. So my first idea of success, we're here to talk about success versus significance, right? The world will tell you that those two are synonymous. They are the same thing. But as Catholic Christians and non-Catholic Christians, they're antonyms. Success, the way we deem success, the way that man deems success, and the way this world deems success are completely different. So I thought that dressing up in a pair of skin-tight slacks and putting a helmet on and crushing other human beings was my definition of success. Well, guess what? God didn't have that in store for me. So what did I do? I graduated college with a civil engineering degree. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to make my mark in the world, right? Be successful that way. Hunt down the 3-inch by 6-inch pieces of green paper with dead presidents on it. That's going to be how I'm going to get successful, right? So my first job was in downtown Boston, building a tunnel underneath Boston. It was the largest construction project in the world going on in 1991, and I had the blessing. That was my first project I was ever on. I was going to be successful, man. I was working shoulder to shoulder with contractors from around the world, the smartest and brightest engineers in the world I was working with on a daily basis. I was on my way to success, right? How did I determine? See, after I had my NFL career, potential NFL career failed, my definition of success in that regard was to make $1 million a year, right? That's what these guys make, to run around at least. But now that I entered into my civil engineering career, I said to myself, how am I going to be successful now? I'm never going to make that kind of money. I said, well, if I make $100,000 a year, I know I'll be successful. So I was on that journey. Anytime there was another job with another company for a little bit more money, I would take it because I needed to get to that $100,000. That was going to make me happy. It was going to make me successful. To the point where I picked up the Boston Globe one Sunday, and there was a civil engineering job in Tampa, Florida. And I looked at my girlfriend at the time, and I said to my girlfriend, I said, geez, it's snowing here today. Tampa, Florida, I think there's nothing but sun down there. So I think we're going to go down to Florida. And she said, no, I think you are going to go down to Florida. I'm going to stay here. By God's grace, she came down with me. That started the second phase of my successful career. I worked for the largest construction company in Central Florida. We built the company up to about $125 million a year. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, I lived the high life. We had access to an $8 million jet. We had a $30 million building. I used to walk around with probably $2,000 or $3,000 of cash in my pocket at all times. Not because I needed it, but because when I pulled my wallet out, everyone would look at me and go, wow, That guy's successful. Look at how much money he's got. Luxury suites at all the Bucks, the Rays, the Lightning, you name it, everything. And I tell you, it's pretty cool, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't have to, when you have access to a private jet, you don't have to set tickets up 3 months in advance. You don't have to walk through the silly machines and take your shoes off and your belt off and all that. You set up a day ahead of time. You drive straight up to the jet. You pop the trunk. Some guy comes and gets your luggage, puts it in the jet. You walk in, you sit down, and boom, I'm living the high life, right? I'm successful. When I sat down in that leather seat, I said to myself, I don't know about all you people, but I know one thing, I'm successful. I have made it. And then guess what? 2008 happens. I know the younger ones in the crowd don't know what happened in 2008, but 2008 was called the Great Financial Crisis for a reason, because it affected everybody. The economy was leveled. Every industry was leveled. Okay? And the company I was working for at the time, I will not be specific, they decided that their path out of this great financial crisis was something called bankruptcy. Well, you know what bankruptcy is, ladies and gentlemen? Bankruptcy is where you have people work for you and you get paid for their work and you have no intentions of paying them for their work. And when I heard that, that was my first opportunity to go from being successful to somebody of significance, because I said, I am not going to participate in that kind of nonsense. I will not do it. And I was the black sheep. Keep in mind, at that point in time, I was making an astronomical amount of money. Astronomical. Whatever you think a lot of money is, double that or triple it. And that's what I was making. And I had to look my wife in the eyes and my 6-year-old daughter in the eyes, as we had, at that time, we had 3 houses over $500,000 each. And I had to look them in the eyes and I had to say, your husband and your father is not going to be able to provide like he usually has, because I have to do the right thing. And I know that sounds easy to you guys right now. But when you know a decision is going to financially bankrupt you, and all you had to do was go along with the crowd, the rest of the guys, and be safe, that's a hard decision, man. But it came from God's graces. So the great financial crisis taught me a lot of valuable lessons. I was let go on December 24th of the year 2009. I left the company, and the good Lord came the next day. And boy, did he ever come. See, Joseph Campbell says, climbing the ladder of success is futile, because when you reach the top, you realize it was up against the wrong wall. And that's what I had done. And I was in my mid-30s, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, mid-30s. There's a Roman axiom that goes something like this: the acquisition of money is like drinking seawater. The more of it that you drink, the thirsty that you become. I'm sure some of you in business have felt that thirst. So there I was as a 40-year-old man, had lost an extremely lucrative job, and I had to figure out what was next. I thought that was success. See, I thought the NFL was success. It isn't. I thought that climbing the ladder of the business world was going to be successful. It wasn't. So what did God have in store for me? That is right about the time where I started really developing a relationship with God. So I would spend hours in the chapel. And I remember sitting there one day, not long after this period, and I said, God, what is it you want me to do? I know that it wasn't your plan for me to run around and bash grown men on a football field. I know that it wasn't driving in a private jet. I know that wasn't what you had in store for me. So what do you have in store for me? And now we're going to get towards the significance part. He said to me one day in the chapel, he said, Jeff, I want you to start up JMJ Site Development Company. And I said, God, I'm not good at this, you chatting with me and me hearing you type of thing, but I think I hear you say you want me to sell tank tops to Eskimos in January because there is no work in the site development field and I'm not capable of starting my own company. The words of Philippians 4:13 pounded me in the chest. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. I said, okay, God, you want me to start my own company at a time when there is no work? Jesus, I trust in you. I put that in quotes because I've never been able to say that without going to confession, even up till today. But we started JMJ Site Development. Before I go into that, I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, a simple question. The 10 richest people in the world, what do they have in common? What's a couple of the things that they have in common? Can anybody name one? They're the richest men in the world, so they have money in common, right? You know what they also have in common, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ? They have 12 divorces between them. The richest man in the world has 3 divorces himself. I'm not here to judge him. But if you think that monetary success and significance in life are directly correlated, you couldn't be more wrong. Just ask the richest men in the world how happy they are with all their money. JMJ Site Development. My initials are Jeff Matthew Joquin, JMJ. But I can promise you, JMJ Site Development would not be here 13 years later if it wasn't Jesus, Mary, and Joseph that were on the headline of our company. We consecrated our business at the beginning. We've consecrated at our 10-year anniversary. And we owe all of our success to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Every proposal that leaves our office gets blessed with holy water from Lourdes. We believe in principle, P-R-I-N-C-I-P-L-E, and not principle, P-R-I-N-C-I-P-A-L. See, I left the world of P-A-L. Now I was in the world of P-L-E. And I'm just going to give you a couple examples of JMJ Site Development and how we try to be different than all the rest. In every single way we do our business. Every single way. We did a job up in Land O'Lakes that had, the paving component of that job was about $100,000. And I don't know if any of you are in the construction industry, there's something that's called a construction lien release, which is basically a piece of paper that a contractor, subcontractor will give to a contractor that basically says, you don't owe me any more money. And on this particular job, the paving component, the paving contractor gave us the final lien release on the job, telling us we didn't owe them any more money. Well, I got a call one day from an administrative assistant in that paving company, and she said, and here we go again, we have a problem. And I said, tell me what your problem is. She said, well, I've given you the final release, but you still owe us $17,000. And I said, okay. I said, let me have our accountants do the homework And if we owe you the money, we're going to pay you. And there was a pause on the line. She said, what? I said, if we owe you the money, ma'am, we are going to pay you. The only final lien release I'm concerned with is my entrance ticket into heaven. And that woman cried on the phone. She said, I'm going to lose my job if I don't get this check. I said, give me 1 minute. And I put the phone down on the desk, went over, made another phone call to our CPA. We found out that we did indeed owe that person $17,000. I picked up the phone and I said, can you tell your boss to meet me at XYZ address? And I'm going to be giving him the $17,000 check today personally. See, men and women, what this man wants us to do right here. It is easy to be a Christian on Sunday. It is easy to be a Christian at 6:30 in the morning when you're in Mass. It is not easy being a Christian from Monday to Saturday. But that's what sets us apart, man. We're called to be set apart. I could tell you hundreds of stories of how we've implemented principle, P-L-E, over P-A-L, by His graces and only by His graces. But what I want to, every company, every individual, every tree is known by the fruit that it generates. So I want to tell you a little bit about what God has generated through JMJ Site Development. And I want to be very careful here. Yes, I am Catholic Christian, and yes, I love the Bible. I know that may sound contradictory to some of you. But 1 Corinthians 3:7 says, it is neither he that plants nor he that waters that is anything, but only he who causes the growth. What I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with Jeff Joquin, and it has everything to do with God. Everything to do with God. God, through JMJ Site Development, has an elementary school in southern Leyte, Philippines, called Ilag Elementary School. Has about 200 to 300 students. We have built a stone wall around that facility, a drinking well, sidewalks, a library, and every room has air conditioning. God, through JMJ Site Development, has another middle school in Tamil Nadu, India, that services 300 Hindu students who walk 2 to 3 miles every day, barefooted, back and forth. JMJ Site Development just built them a big kitchen, bathrooms, and a storage area. JMJ Site Development works with Hands of Healing Ministry, which provides medical, dental, and vision help for the Mayan people in Solola, Guatemala. I cannot tell you, we work with Voice of the Martyrs in Central Africa Republic to help persecuted Christians. Everywhere in the United States, we're blessed to have ministerial outposts. We've built Marian prayer grottos, big grottos made out of stone, beautiful, beautiful, in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Our family has a number of things that we do personally as outward signs, manifestations of our love of Jesus Christ. One of which is, a lot of people think you have to take a mission trip and go overseas, right? Well, I'll tell you what, men and women, you can go to Seffner, Florida, and find some of the most abjectly poor migrant workers that you could ever find anywhere in the world. My family and I, we load up one vehicle with 150 Christmas gifts for the boys. We load up another vehicle with 150 Christmas gifts for the girls, and we drive into the poorest of the poor neighborhood, and we hand them out as if we were Santa Claus. And these little kids run and jump in the back of the car. That joy is something that I can hardly express with words. And let me tell you why. The first time we do that at Christmas and we do that at Easter. We've done that every year for 6 or 7 years until the pandemic, unfortunately. But when we first did it, I thought it was me being some philanthropist to poor people. But I didn't realize it was the poor people that were teaching me the lesson. Because we walked up the very first day we got there, the first Christmas, and we walked up to a trailer, and there were 15 young kids inside the trailer, no air conditioning, and it was very hot even though it was December. And I opened up the door. My daughter, at the time 7 years old, was behind me. And when she saw how poor these kids were, it put a tear in her eyes. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, this is how God works. Because we think we're here doing good for these poor people, but in reality, they're teaching us who He is. I cannot even tell you the blessings that God has given JMJ Site Development through the ministerial outreach that we've been blessed to participate in. We don't have enough time for it. But again, He gets all the credit. Bernard Shaw said, and I want to read this quote directly, "A rich person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least." Men and women, brothers in Christ, I challenge you as Christian business owners to not seek after the VIPs of this world. Now, I say that, and forgive me, 2 weekends ago, I was blessed to give an interview for Students for Life. At that gala, there was also another influential man by the name of Mike Pence, and I had the opportunity of rubbing shoulders with him. So God has taken a broken pencil, and He's really writing a great love story. But do not rub shoulders with the very important people of this world. Rub shoulders with the other VIPs of this world, the vulnerable and impoverished people of this world. Because that is where you will be significant, men and women. That is how you will be significant. Success is not what you accomplish in life. It's what you inspire others to do. And I want to leave you with this. I very rarely quote anybody from the New York Times for obvious reasons. I won't get into those. But there's a writer at the New York Times who obviously God has inspired. And he wrote an article one time, and he was speaking to what he called resume virtues versus eulogy virtues. Okay? Resume virtues versus eulogy virtues. And he defined resume virtues as the things like income, job title, and the size of your house. He noted that eulogy virtues are things like being helpful, being loved, being honest, and being remembered. You know what the irony is that most people aspire for the latter, but we put all our energy into the former. We put all of our energy hunting down those 3-inch by 6-inch pieces of paper with dead presidents on them. Don't we? If we're going to be honest, men and women, don't we? Google defines success. I'm going to read this as well. The favorable or prosperous end of attempts or endeavors, the accomplishment of one's goals, the attainment of wealth, position, honors, or the like. Brothers and sisters in Christ, does this right here look like the acquisition of wealth and honor and title? Does it? That is the most significant human being, also happens to be the second person of the Holy Trinity, that's ever walked the face of the earth. Time itself has been restructured based on his birth. What I want each and every one of you to do when you leave here today and you go about your business, and tonight when you put your head on your pillow, what I want you to do is to think about the people that are going to show up to your funeral. And are they going to have nothing but the good eulogy verses to speak of you? When they look at your tombstone, are they going to say that was a man or a woman of God? Because whatever it is that you're doing in your business right now, if you're not working on the eulogy virtues, but you're working on the resume virtues, you're going to be very successful in life, but you won't be very significant. God bless you, and thank you so much for your time.